Scrooge woke in the middle of an enormously tough snore and sat up in bed to get his thoughts together. He felt he was restored to consciousness in the right nick of time before the clock struck 1, before the second messenger whom Jacob Marley's spirit had warned should come. He began to wonder which of his curtains this new specter would draw back, and so he put every one aside with his own hands, and lying down again, established a sharp lookout all round the bed. For he wished to challenge the spirit on the moment of its appearance, and did not wish to be taken by surprise and made nervous. Now, being prepared for almost anything, he was not by any means prepared for nothing, and consequently, when the bell struck 1, and no shape appeared, he was taken with a violent fit of trembling. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a quarter of an hour went by, yet nothing came. As he lay upon his bed, a blaze of ruddy light streamed upon it when the clock proclaimed the hour. At last, however, he began to think that the source and secret of this ghostly light might be in the adjoining room.
Scrooge, come hither through this door.
Come in, and know me better, man. I am the ghost of Christmas present. Look upon me. You have never seen the like of me before.
No, never.
Have you never walked forth with the younger members of my family? Meaning, for I am very young, my elder brothers born in these later years.
I don't think I have. I'm afraid I have not. Have you many brothers, Spirit?
More than 1,800.
A tremendous family to provide for. Spirit, conduct me where you will. I went forth last night on compulsion, and I learned a lesson which is working now. Tonight, if you have anything to teach me, let me profit by it.
Touch my robe.
Scrooge did as he was told and held it fast. The house fronts looked black enough and the windows blacker, a contrast to the white sheet of snow upon the roofs. The sky was gloomy, and the shortest streets were choked up with a dingy mist, half thawed, half frozen, whose heavier particles descended in a shower of sooty atoms. Soon the steeples called good people all to church and chapel, and away they came, flocking through the streets in their best clothes and with their gayest faces. The sight of these poor revelers appeared to interest the spirit very much, for he stood with Scrooge beside him in a baker's doorway, and taking off the covers of what they carried, sprinkled incense on their dinners.
Out of my way, you cur!
Who's calling me a cur, you nameless son of a swine?
Wait a minute. What are we doing? It's Christmas. Should we not be merry?
So it is. What a shame we should quarrel on Christmas Day.
Is there a peculiar flavor in what you sprinkle from your torch?
There is. My own.
Would it apply to any kind of dinner on this day?
To anyone, kindly given, but to a poor one most.
Why to a poor one most?
Because it needs it most.
Spirit, I wonder you, of all the beings in the many worlds about us, should desire to cramp these people's opportunity of innocent enjoyment.
I?
You would deprive them of their means of dining every seventh day, often the only day on which they can be said to dine at all. Why would you?
I?
You seek to close these places on the seventh day, and it comes to the same thing.
I seek.
Forgive me if I am wrong. It's been done in your name, or at least in that of your family.
There are some upon this earth of yours who lay claim to know us, and who do their deeds of passion, pride, ill will, hatred, envy, bigotry, and selfishness in our name, who are as strange to us and all our kith and kin as if they had never lived. Remember that and accuse their doings on themselves, not us.
Scrooge promised that he would, and they went on invisible, as they had been before, into the suburbs of the town, straight to Scrooge's clerk's, for there the spirit went, and he took Scrooge with him, holding on to his robe, and on the threshold of the door the spirit smiled and stopped to bless Bob Cratchit's dwelling with the sprinkling of his torch.
Wherever is your precious father, and your brother, Tiny Tim, and Martha? She wasn't as late last Christmas by half an hour.
Here's Martha, Mother.
Why, bless your heart alive, my dear Martha, how late you are.
We had a deal of work to finish up last night, and I had to clear away this morning, Mother.
Well, never mind. As long as you've come, sit ye down by the fire, my dear, and have a warm, Lord bless ye.
No, there's Father coming. Hi, Martha, hi.
Why, where's our Martha?
She's not coming.
Not coming? Not coming upon Christmas Day?
Here I am.
Oh, and how did little Tim behave?
As good as gold, and better. Somehow he gets thoughtful sitting by himself so much, and thinks the strangest things you ever heard. He told me coming home that he hoped the people saw him in the church because he was a cripple, and it might be pleasant to them to remember upon Christmas Day who made lame beggars walk and blind men see.
Bob's voice was tremulous when he told them this, and trembled more when he said that Tiny Tim was growing strong and hearty. His active little crutch was heard upon the floor, and back came Tiny Tim before another word was spoken.
Never was such a goose, I say. Never such a goose cooked so tender, so full of flavor.
Why, we haven't eaten it all, yet look how ye satisfied stuffed they are. And look to the youngest, while they're steeped to their eyeballs with sage and onion.
Now after the plates have been cleared, Mrs. Cratchit left the room alone, nervous to get the pudding and bring it in.
Oh, what a wonderful pudding! Why, I do believe it is your greatest success, Mrs. Cratchit, since these years we've been married.
And all the Cratchit family drew round the hearth in what Bob Cratchit called a circle, meaning half a one.
A Merry Christmas to us all, my dears.
Merry Christmas! God bless us, everyone!
Tim sat very close to his father's side upon his little stool. Bob held his withered little hand in his, as if he loved the child and wished to keep him by his side and dreaded that he might be taken from him.
Spirit, tell me if Tiny Tim will live.
I see a vacant seat in the poor chimney corner, and a crutch without an owner, carefully preserved. If these shadows remain unaltered by the future, the child will die.
No. Oh no, kind spirit. Say you will be spared.
If these shadows remain unaltered by the future, none other of my race will find him here. What then, if he be like to die? He had better do it and decrease the surplus population.
Scrooge hung his head to hear his own words quoted by the Spirit and was overcome with penitence and grief.
Man, if you be man in heart, not obstinate, restrain yourself from that wicked humbug until you have discovered what the surplus is and where it is. Will you decide what men shall live, what men shall die? It may be that in the sight of heaven, you are more worthless and less fit to live than millions like this poor man's child.
Scrooge bent before the ghost's rebuke and trembling cast his eyes upon the ground, but he raised them speedily on hearing his own name.
Mr. Scrooge, a toast. I give you Mr. Scrooge, the founder of the feast.
The founder of the feast, indeed. I wish I had him here. I'd give him a piece of my mind to feast upon, and I hope he'd have a good appetite for it.
My dear, the children, Christmas Day.
It should be Christmas Day. I am sure on which one drinks the health of such an odious, stingy, hard, unfeeling man as Mr. Scrooge. You know he is, Robert. Nobody knows it better than you do, poor fellow.
My dear, Christmas Day.
And to his health for your sake, not for his. Then long life to him. A Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. He'll be very merry and very happy, I have no doubt.
Now, without a word of warning from the ghost, they stood upon a bleak moor, where monstrous masses of rude stone were cast about, as though it were the burial place of giants. Down in the west, the setting sun had left a streak of fiery red, which glared upon the desolation for an instant, like a sullen eye, and frowning lower, lower, lower yet, was lost in the thick gloom of darkest night.
What place is this?
A place where miners live who labor in the bowels of the earth. But they know me, see?
The Spirit did not remain long here, but told Scrooge to hold on to his rope, and passing on above the moor, sped to sea. To Scrooge's horror, looking back, he saw the rest of the land, a frightful range of rocks behind them, and his ears were deafened by the thundering of water as it rolled and roared and raged among the dreadful caverns it had worn and fiercely tried to undermine the earth. It was a great surprise to Scrooge, while listening to the moaning of the wind, to hear a hearty laugh. It was a much greater surprise to Scrooge to recognize it as his own nephew's.
He said that Christmas was a humbug, as I live. Oh, he believed it too.
More shame for him, Fred.
He's a comical old fellow, that's the truth, and not so pleasant as he might be. However, his offenses carry their own punishment, and I have nothing bad to say against him.
I am sure he is very rich, Fred. At least you always tell me so.
What of that, my dear? His wealth is of no use to him. He don't do any good with it. He don't make himself comfortable with it. He hasn't the satisfaction of thinking that he's ever going to benefit us with it.
I have no patience with him.
Oh, I have. I am sorry for him. I couldn't be angry with him if I tried. Who suffers by his ill whims? Himself, always. Here, he takes it into his head to dislike us. He won't come to dine with us. What's the consequence? He don't lose much of a dinner.
Ah, indeed. I think he loses a very good dinner.
And so he has.
Do go on, Fred.
I was only going to say that the consequences of his taking a dislike to us and not making merry with us is, as I think, that he loses some pleasant moments, which could do him no harm. I'm sure he loses pleasanter companions than he can find in his own thoughts, either in his moldy old office or his dusty chambers. I mean to give him the same chance every year. He may rail at Christmas till he dies, but he can't help thinking better of it. I defy him. If he finds me going there in good temper year after year, if it only puts him in the vein to leave his poor clerk £50, that's something. And I think I shook him yesterday.
Scrooge watched as the merriment continued, singing carols and popular songs of the day, playing parlor games like Blind Man's Bluff. Scrooge's niece played well upon the harp, and played among other tunes a simple little air which had been familiar to the child who fetched Scrooge from the boarding school. The ghost was greatly pleased to find Scrooge in this mood, and looked upon him with such favor that Scrooge begged like a boy to be allowed to stay until the guests departed. But this, the spirit said, could not be done.
Here's a new game. 1/2 hour, Spirit, only one.
I'm thinking of an animal, a live animal, rather a disagreeable animal, a savage animal, an animal that growled and grunted sometimes, and talked sometimes, and lived in London. Ooh, and walked about the streets, and wasn't made a show of, and wasn't led by anybody, and didn't live in a menagerie, and wasn't killed in a market. He was not a horse, or an ass, or a cow, or a bull, or a tiger, or a dog, or a pig, or a cat, or a bear.
Is it a magistrate?
No.
Is it a beggar?
No again.
Well, what the deuce is it then?
Wait, I have found it out. I know what it is. Fred, I know what it is.
What is it then?
It's your Uncle Scrooge.
He has given us plenty of merriment, I am sure, and it would be ungrateful not to drink to his health. Here is a glass of mulled wine ready to our hand at the moment, and I say, Uncle Scrooge.
To Uncle Scrooge.
A Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to the old man, whatever he is. He wouldn't take it from me, but may he have from us, nevertheless. Uncle Scrooge.
Uncle Scrooge.
What a capital bunch of people they are. If only I...
We mustn't tarry. We must be away.
It was a long night, if it were only a night, but Scrooge had his doubts of this because the Christmas holidays appeared to be condensed into the space of time they passed together. It was strange, too, that while Scrooge remained unaltered in his outward form, the ghost grew older, clearly older. Scrooge had observed this change, but never spoke of it until they left a children's 12th night party, when looking at the spirit as they stood together in an open place, he noticed that its hair was gray.
Are spirits' lives so short?
My life upon this globe is very brief. It ends tonight.
Tonight?
Tonight at midnight. Hark! The time is drawing near.
Forgive me if I am not justified in what I ask, but I see something strange and not belonging to yourself protruding from your skirts. Is it a foot or a claw?
It might be a claw, for the flesh there is upon it. Look here. Oh man, look here. Look down here. Here are two girls, yellow, meager, ragged, scowling, wolfish, but prostrate too in their humility. Where graceful youth should have filled their features out and touched them with its freshest tints, a stale and shriveled hand like that of age has pinched and twisted them and pulled them into shreds. Where angels might have sat enthroned, devils lurked and glared out menacing. No change, no degradation, no perversion of humanity in any grade. Through all the mysteries of a wonderful creation, has there been monsters half so horrible and dread?
Have they no refuge?
Are there no prisons? Are there no workhouses? Are there no prisons? Are there no workhouses? Workhouses? Prisons? Prisons? Prisons?